Can Opportunity Zone capital power the historic preservation of a vacant landmark? In Mount Vernon, Ohio, a long shuttered school sat empty for 25 years. Several developers tried and failed, but Joel Mazza and Bob Erlanger saw potential where others saw decay. And by leveraging the Opportunity Zone incentive, they transformed that landmark into the GRAD Apartments, a 38-unit luxury community now fully leased. Today on the Opportunity Zones podcast, we explore how they married historic preservation with Opportunity Zone capital to breathe new life into this property. What challenges did they face? How did they structure the deal? And what lessons can other developers draw for reviving forgotten sites? We'll cover all this and more next. Welcome to the Opportunity Zones podcast. I'm Jimmy Atkinson, and joining me on the show today are Joel Mazza and Bob Erlanger from Erma Capital. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you?
Fantastic. Jimmy, how are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you. Great to be with you guys today. We were introduced through a mutual acquaintance, so shout out to Andrew Daup in Columbus, Ohio for making the introduction. Really appreciate it. Gentlemen, let's start with the GRAD. I teased it in the opener, but tell me a little bit more about it. What's the backstory behind this building, and how did you two come to acquire it after so many others had failed to revive this site?
Well, I'll go ahead and speak first. This is Joel Mazza. My family has a long history in Mount Vernon, and my father actually attended high school and graduated from this school in 1955, and my wife's grandfather was in the very first class in 1940, the very first class that graduated from this high school. And all five of my brothers and sisters actually went to middle school here and were educated in the halls of the old Mount Vernon High School, which was later converted into a middle school in 1970. So I was very familiar with the site and that it was vacant since 1996. They built a new high school on the other side of town, and this site was converted into a middle school, and then was shuttered in 1996. So it sat vacant for many, many years.
And you had a personal connection to this school. You had some family members go through it and graduate from it. So I can see why you were initially drawn to this landmark. You'd seen it vacant in your town of Mount Vernon for 25 plus years. How did you decide to then acquire it, and why pursue a historic renovation instead of just a demo and rebuild?
Well, the site had a lot of unique characteristics. The fact is that it's over a 4-acre site, and it encompasses an entire city block that abuts the historical downtown central business district of Mount Vernon. And so we didn't actually have to assemble multiple tracts of ground for a larger scale development. In addition, because it was located or situated in an opportunity zone, there were a lot of tax incentives associated with the project that made it economically feasible that the previous 3 or 4 other developers did not have the opportunity to take advantage of. And then thirdly, we have a long history with a local zoning attorney, Don Plank, who actually we worked with directly in concert with the local city and created a community reinvestment area to abate improvement taxes over a 15-year period that actually married or mirrored the Opportunity Zone outline. So there's 2 tiers of tax benefits that we were able to put together with working directly with the local government that made this project financially feasible, because it was a large undertaking.
Got it. So it was vacant starting in 1996. Nobody could get it done for the next 20 plus years when Opportunity Zones did not exist. Opportunity Zones come into existence in 2018. At some point, the two of you likely noticed that, hey, wait a second, Mount Vernon, Ohio, where this school is located in an Opportunity Zone. Let's look into more of this Opportunity Zone incentive. What was your approach to financing this, and how crucial was the OZ incentive to getting this done?
Well, we had, we've been involved in real estate for uh, quite a period of time thus far, and we had some capital gains that we needed to reinvest. So the initial investments into the property obviously were just capital gains from some of the sales of our single family homes and other commercial developments that we had done in the past. Um, so when we initially bought the property, we just paid cash for the purchase of the land. Going back to your last question um, about why did we redevelop the school and keep it in place, when we came across the property, the community had kind of a love-hate relationship with it. Um, the hate was related to the fact of how long the building had sat vacant. And it was a blighted property, and the community was tired of looking at it. But at the same time, there was that love for it that exists today because there's been so many generations that have gone through there that it's just a beloved place in the community. So it really didn't allow us to have the thought, oh, we're going to come in here, we're going to take down the entire building and start a brand new development. There were, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, we took down, I think, an extra 100,000 square feet. That was an addition that was off the back of the building. So we did do some demo before we started, and as we were working through the process of getting the CRA put in place. So once we were able to purchase the property, we did that cash. We started off funding, taking down the back side of the building with cash. And then eventually, once we had an idea of what we wanted to do with the property, that's when we were going through a rising rate environment. We wanted to lock in our rates. We dealt with West Banco to do some financing for the construction, and that got us underway to get the project started.
Good. And you said that the community has had a love-hate relationship with this building for some time. Well, what kind of support did you encounter from city officials or from neighbors when you were getting underway here? Was there resistance to this, or was everybody very excited about what you were doing? I'm curious to hear what that story was like over the last few years.
I can answer this. It was very heated in the beginning because the 4 previous developers had failed, and here we go again was kind of the attitude. And the city was actually at a crossroads where they actually condemned the building shortly after we acquired the property, and they wanted a very tight, definitive timeline when the project was going to start. And if it was not going to start, we actually had to put up a performance bond to cover the cost of the demolition, which really put our feet to the fire. Moved in and started demoing the rear portion, which was the 1929 portion of the building, which was approximately 125,000 square feet. And once we got that site cleared and the demo was done, and we were left with the 1939 building, which was originally designed by a renowned architect, Vernon Redding, and this project was actually his very last project prior to his demise in 1939. The city started for the very first time to embrace the community. People were driving by, they were picking up bricks, they were telling stories. And it started to get a buzz because for the first time in 26 years or close to 25 years, they could actually see true movement, and the fact that our family had a history with the building, and we could directly relate to the people that actually were educated. Because, I mean, quite frankly, this building since 1818 has been the cornerstone of the Mount Vernon school system. It has been a site where a school has been for well over 178 years. So thousands of community members and family members and friends have been educated in these halls. So it resonates with people.
And the fact that it's in an opportunity zone, I think, likely helped make it work. Whereas other developers had failed in the preceding years prior to OZ existing. I'm just curious, how critical was the OZ incentive to making it work? Would this have gotten done without the OZ incentive, do you think?
The incentive was critical. I mean, there were really two critical things that made this investment work, and that was the opportunity zone benefits and the CRA. Those playing together made this investment a no-brainer, and so that the OZ really did play a big part in what we were able to put together.
And by CRA, just to clarify, you mean that community redevelopment area, or was it community reinvestment area? I'm sorry.
Community reinvestment area, correct. And so basically right now we have the school building redeveloped, and right now I believe, and for the next 15 years on this property, we're going to pay less than $2,000 a year in property taxes because we pay zero taxes on any of the improvements that we've done.
So that's critical. A combination of the opportunity zone incentive combined with these local incentives delivered through this CRA program that your local municipality has set up for this area. That's the key to getting something like this done. That's huge. Let's talk about where the property is now. It's fully redeveloped now. You have tenants. In fact, I believe you're fully occupied. Tell us a little bit about who's renting from this building and what have they said about it so far?
Well, I'll let Joel take that in a minute, but just a small point of correction. Right now, we have 32 units completed, and we have 6 units that are yet to be completed and will be completed this year. And those are going to be some loft-style units in the old gymnasium. The 32 units are completed and fully leased. All 32 of those units leased up within 42 days of hitting the market. And I'll let Joel pick up from there.
What's really unique about the GRAD is its community. Because it's centrally located and it's walkable, you're within steps of the Mount Vernon Library, within steps of the YMCA, 2 blocks away from the downtown historical central business district. The GRAD it appeals to both young and old community members. We have 2 or 3 folks that are retirees that are in their 80s, executives, professors, young attorneys. We have a group of 20-year-olds. We have 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds. What is unique about the GRAD is that it's the very first luxury apartment project that's been developed in this community within decades. We have state-of-the-art security, fiber optics, key fob entry, all concrete parking lots, all new windows, historical low-E windows, terrazzo floors throughout the hallways with brass inlay, restored historical trophy cases. So that historical element can't be replicated. And our tenants recognize that it's so unique, and the fact that the revitalization of this property is very walkable. So young and old really enjoy it. It's along brick-lined streets of Mount Vernon. And you can walk down every Saturday, and we do. And a lot of our community members do walk down to the farmer's market. And there's a plant market, and it's within walking distance of the downtown pubs like Flappers and the Alcove, the oldest restaurant in Mount Vernon, or the plays, music venues, which is like the Woodward Opera House. So it appeals to both young and old.
Good. And you mentioned that it leased up pretty quickly. It leased up in 48 days, those first 32 units at least. Were you expecting that? Were you expecting the property to lease up so quickly, or what were your expectations?
Quite honest, I was shocked. We currently have over 60 qualified applicants that have been vetted, that have paid their deposits, that want in the GRAD right now. We're fully leased, and we have 60 applicants that want in. Did we expect this level of demand? No, we really didn't. We knew that we had something very unique and very special that couldn't be replicated. because of the historical nature of the building and its close proximity to downtown, its walkability. However, I was surprised. How about you, Bob?
I mean, I was thinking it was going to be more of a normal lease up period, and I was of the expectation that we'd be somewhere in 60 to 90 days to get to 80-90% occupancy, but to hit full occupancy at 42 days, it was a very nice upside surprise.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. The demand for housing in that area of this type of property is very high, much higher than even you two had anticipated. I think that's a good segue into the next part of our discussion, which is how can you capitalize on this demand for housing even more so going into the future? What are some of your future plans and OZ portfolio expansion in this area? Because I know you guys have some other properties that you're considering, right?
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and answer this. The existing site, like I indicated previously, that we do own the entire city block. It's well over 4 acres. So phase one of the GRAD is the initial 38 units. And then which we're going to present this project on OZ Pitch Day, which this is one of our very first projects that we're going to pitch. Then second phase of this project will be an additional 64 units at the rear of the site, which is also in the opportunity zone, which we have as a separate parcel. So, and in addition, we've got 2 other projects which we own large tracts of ground in Knox County that are in the opportunity zones and or the CRA that will be of similar types of projects. One mixed use and one will be multifamily.
Good. Can we talk about the capital stack for the rest of your deals really quickly? I like to kind of dive into the weeds from time to time with some of my guests. I'm curious to hear what's the total project cost for some of the projects that you're envisioning. How much is going to be equity? How much is going to be debt? How much OZ capital are you looking to raise going forward? If you wouldn't mind drilling into those numbers for a moment.
Well, honestly, we have not really put a pencil to the exact numbers of what we're looking at for phase 2. We are in the development phase right now, trying to put together final plans with our architects. And then we're going to put that out to bid with a general contractor to kind of see where those numbers come back. Joel can probably give you an estimate of what we think the build in the back will be cost-wise. But at this point, we don't have firm estimates for that.
It's going to exceed $10 million, closer to $15 million for the rear development. And then we have another project which will be in that same caliber. And our equity raise will be in the 40 to 50%. So somewhere between $4 and $7 million, depending on the actual final project cost.
Got it. Times 2, it sounds like. So $4 to $7 million OZ capital you're raising for the back of that Mount Vernon school property, and then an additional $4 to $7 million for that other property. Well, it sounds good. It sounds like that's very doable, and you're building a lot of much needed housing in Mount Vernon. You've got a backlog of 60 plus people on the wait list, it sounds like. So I wish you guys luck with that, and looking forward to hosting you on OZ Pitch Day coming up here very soon as well. Looking back at all that you guys have done with this property, at the Mount Vernon School, what were some of your biggest challenges in turning around that long vacant site? And what advice would you give to other OZ developers who are looking to do something similar?
Well, I'll let Joel speak a little bit to this, but basically from an outsider's point of view, just turning the doubt around, just because the property had been blighted and had been vacant for so long, it was really difficult, especially at the beginning, to get any kind of traction with anybody, whether it was city council, whether it was local officials. So it really took a lot of investment and faith up front from us that if we did the right things, that we could get things to turn in our direction. The advice that I would give for someone who was in a similar situation is make sure that you are hiring the right professionals to get the work done that you need done. So by this, I'm talking about, we hired one of the best known zoning attorneys in the Columbus area who's been here for years, done multiple CRAs for communities around. And we were the ones that kind of pushed in Mount Vernon for city council to bring the CRA to fruition. And even to the point where they had our attorney end up doing the drafting for the CRA. Same thing with architects, same thing with engineers, any of the professionals that you're using. The best advice that I can give is find the best in the field that have experience and can guide you where you may not have the knowledge to make sure that you're bringing the project together at the right pace, in the right number of steps, with everything falling into line. So it really was, it was a battle at the beginning. I mean, we went through a lot of legal battles with the city to get the property from being condemned and having that removed, to setting up the CRA, to going through the zoning itself. So a lot of it is just kind of fortitude, stick-to-itiveness, and make sure that you have the right folks working on your side, but keep pushing forward.
And I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Is the fact that when you have the team approach, no I in team, the fact is the city started to see that we had momentum and that we were very serious about the site. So what was very thorny in the beginning, at the end of this project and in 2024, we actually did not realize that they put our project in the running or in the hat to win the Knox County Historical Preservation Award, which we were the 2024 recipient. And we actually had no idea. So we went, it completely turned around that by the end of this project, the city was basically opening up their war chest and working with utilities, sidewalks, lighting, working with the local code enforcement managers to make sure that this city block matched our level of investment and our level of commitment. And I think it kind of goes back to, Warren Buffett, the width of your moat. With this particular project, I really considered, and I think Bob does too, that we had a very, very wide moat. I mean, this project would be very difficult to replicate, because just the level of construction. You've got 45-foot sandstone columns, granite steps, terrazzo flooring with brass inlay. This is not your typical apartment in a bean field along 3637, or actually in Mount Vernon on the other side of town along Coshocton Avenue. This is an opportunity for the community to remain a part of the original historical community and be able to walk around and enjoy brick-lined streets and the local taverns and whatnot. So I think as an investor, you need to really look at the individual investment and within these opportunity zones, because they're typically located in older portions of the community. The cities are really, really willing to work with you. And it's that momentum of bridging the gap between the developer, which sometimes has a bad name, and working directly in concert with the local community and trying to generate or create a project through incentives to redevelop these sites for housing, because there is a huge shortage of housing throughout the state of Ohio, and especially in Mount Vernon.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we can see that in that big wait list that you guys have for the Mount Vernon property. Great insights there. I think it's interesting to hear that there may have been some resistance or some reluctance on the city when you first approached them. But But then fast forward a couple of years, they're nominating your development for a major award, which you won. Congratulations. And it sounds like the city has now fully embraced the two of you and your team. And that just greases the chute for subsequent projects. So you've done a lot of the hard work up front with putting your team together. And that's one of the first things that I coach a lot of my emerging fund manager, emerging developer clients on, is make sure you have the right team in place. Is one of the first steps. You have to put together the right team, get the right GC, get the right attorney, get the right contacts in the local municipality or county or state government, whoever you need to deal with, get together the right accountant, and because you can't do everything. So I think that's hugely beneficial advice to put that team together. It sounds like you guys are well on your way now. Sounds like it was a little bit sticky in the beginning, but hopefully you've got that chute greased, as I mentioned. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure chatting with both of you today. I'm really looking forward to your presentation on OZ Pitch Day coming up very soon here. June 19th is the date of that OZ Pitch Day event. You can learn more about that event by heading to ozpitchday.com. Joel and Bob, before we sign off today, if we have anyone in our audience who's interested in learning more about the two of you or about Erma Capital or any of your future OZ developments, what's the best way for them to get in touch with the two of you?
They could reach me on my cell phone. I'm extremely responsive, and or my email. My personal cell phone is 614-390-1053, or email at Joel, Joel, at Mazza, Mazza, consulting.net. Bob?
I can be reached the same way. So my mobile is 614-570-0138. Or they can reach me on my personal email, which is erlangeragency@yahoo.com, ERLANGERAGENCY@yahoo.com.
Perfect. And for my listeners and viewers out there today, first of all, if you enjoyed today's episode, give us a thumbs up, hit that like button. And we'll also have show notes available on our website at opportunityzones.com/podcast if you want to read more about today's show. And I'll be sure to print out Joel and Bob's phone numbers and email addresses so you can grab them there as well in case you missed it just now. Also, please be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening app to always get the latest episodes. Joel and Bob, again, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. I appreciate it.